Hello, everyone. I'm Chester44, also known as Fly, and welcome to this Let's Play of Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector. I'm probably going to forget that subtitle of Starward Vector fairly quickly, so I'm just going to stick with Citizen Sleeper 2. So, we did just finish the first Citizen Sleeper, and things will be slightly different here. Mainly in that the first Citizen Sleeper I actually played on my own a little while ago. Then when I was looking for a game to take in the remaining period of time, I figured, you know what, the sequel was coming out soon, I may as well play it again. So I did kind of know everything that was going to happen here. Citizen Sleeper 2 I have not played. I'm going into this completely blind. So I don't know what I'm going to see exactly, and I've avoided too much information. Like, I have a vague idea of some of the changes that they put in, but I don't know much. So, let's give this a try, completely fresh and new. There isn't even an option to click continue. Let's see how this begins. Tutorials on recommended. Let's see. Safe. For those focused on the story, low risk option. Broken dice are worth 1, higher stress tolerance, death is disabled. For risky is the intended difficulty for those happy to be challenged. Broken dice cannot be used. Standard stress tolerance, death incurs a significant permanent penalty. Death is a thing now. Worrying. And dangerous. For experienced players who want an unforgiving challenge with no second chances. Dice repairs require more components. Very low stress tolerance, double energy depletion, and death is permanent. Well, while I would want to focus on the story, I am more of a story player. I tend to try and play through games on normal, so I'm gonna go with risky, and we'll see what happens. And yes, that's something I heard. Unlike the last one, where you pick one you're good at and one you're not good at, in this case, it seems to be one you're good at, one you're not as good at, and one that you just cannot use at all. So there's 3 classes. Let's see. So first we have the Machinist. Machinist sleepers are built to repair and modify automated systems used in corporate resource extraction. Machinists are very skilled engineers, but their isolated work means they often struggle with tasks requiring a direct approach or social engagement. Their focus skill allows them to focus on a single task and boost their dice to excel in it. Sleepers assigned to machinist work are usually diligent, careful, and structured people. +1 to stress. I'm guessing that's not necessarily a bad thing. +2 and focus lowest dice. -1 stress on focus die positive outcome. Not sure what that all means. So it looks like engineer is boosted. Interface and Induit is not as good. Endure is low. And engage cannot be done at all. Then we've got the operator. Operator sleepers are built to work with drones and remote machines over local networks to perform corporate resource extraction from a distance. Operators have expertise in working with interfaces and computer systems, but are more physically fragile than other sleepers. Their reboot skill allows them to hack their own systems to re-roll dice, a risky but potentially powerful move. Sleepers assigned to operator are usually cerebral and precise people. +1 stress, re-roll lowest... Oh, wait, that's re-roll configuration. Okay, that's what that is. Okay, accrue stress to focus and action dice. Okay. Reboot, accrue stress to re-roll your action dice. That would be powerful. So, can't endure, so any physical things wouldn't do well. Good with interface. Intuit and engage, so that's social and figuring things out. Engineer, not that great. Can probably be boosted. And finally, extractor. Extractor sleepers are built to work at the coalface of corporate research extraction, often in hard vacuum environments. Extractors have a high level of physical endurance, but their confidence means they struggle with tasks requiring intuition. Their rally skill allows them to motivate those in their team, boosting their crew dice. Sleepers assigned to extractor work are often confident, self-sufficient, and have a high level of endurance. So, they can deal with a lot of things. Physically, they're really good. They're decent with social issues and engineering. Interfacing with tech, not that great. And Intuit is bad, so they're not very smart. Who would I want? I feel like Engage is something I would want to be able to have. But I like the whole idea of being a machinist. If I could, I'd take Machinist, but swap Endure and Engage, because I want to be able to engage. If I can't endure very well, it's fine. I think maybe I can try Operator. And boost up Engineer over time. So I'm a tech, I'm okay with, so I'm a very good tech. I'm okay with figuring things out and socializing with people. Not that good on the physical tech kind of thing yet. No endurance. So I will eventually work on improving that, but plus the re-rolling lowest dice thing, that sounds like it's going to be very useful. I'll stick with Operator. Let's see here. In the moment before waking, the dark space before conscious thought, you struggle to find the pieces of yourself. Usually these pieces come with a particular cadence, each appearing sequentially, like the boot process of an old terminal. First your body, artificial, compromised, but relaying sense data all the same. Then its context, the breeze of air infiltration, the soft contact of your birth in 0G. Then emotion, coming into focus, coming into your body, bringing with it that first instinct, the one that has framed your past 100 cycles. Fear. But that familiar sequence does not arrive. Instead, you are unmoored in space, your body distant, your context silenced, even your emotions somehow obscured and scattered. Among all that disarray, only one familiar thing arrives. The fear. It is a scrambled, panicked fear, the drowning fear, the falling fear, the fear that makes you reach desperately for any stable point. It is the fear that tells you something is wrong. Something is very wrong with you. Wake up, sleeper. The voice is whispered in your ear, an act that makes you suddenly aware of your head pulsing in pain, your body rigid with tension. Sleeper. A familiar name. A mind copied, emulated, a body built, implanted. One person sleeping until their debt is worked away, their double being made to work, to be consumed, and eventually to be destroyed. A proxy, an emulation. A sleeper. That is what you are. But you escaped. You remember that now. Broke free of your corporate creators, S and ARP, in search of a future. You cannot remember the details of your escape, but you know the fear has been with you ever since. All of a sudden you remember you have eyes, and your eyes flicker open. Pale eyes in a pale face. Lane. The name comes with its own specific sensation of fear, one you recoil from instinctively. Sorry to interrupt, but this ends here. Oh, that's interesting. You search your mind for more than a name. Is this how you reward me for my generosity? Lane is leaning over your horizontal floating body, looking down into your eyes. I took you in, protected you, gave you a purpose. You try to look away to the corners of your vision to find something you understand. Your body does not respond. But I suppose that wasn't enough. He reaches into the pocket of his jacket and retrieves a small vial. This wasn't enough? The vial glitters. This object you know, and have known for a long time. Stabilizer. The drug that keeps your artificial body, your emulated mind from inevitable decay. The only balm for your planned obsolescence. The liquid rolling in the vial fills you with disgust. Lane pockets the vial. But it would be wasted on you now, after what you have done to this body of yours. He looks at you with a palpable disgust. Lane's eyes scan your body, and as they do, you become aware of the wires and tubes attached to you. Those that were meant to free you from your dependence, from the stabilizer and the control it grants Lane. They are free, you piece of shit. They don't need you anymore. The voice comes from somewhere behind Lane's head. It is a voice you know, but when you search your mind to try to understand why, you find only dizzying darkness. Shut him up. Lane barks the command, and you hear the sounds of impact, of pain from elsewhere in the room. You try to move your limbs again, and this time you feel a flicker, the twitch of a finger. You feel the extension and compression of synthetic muscle. Free, are you? You were free when I disabled your tracker, when I gave you the stabilizer you needed. He scans your body with angry eyes. Now, you aren't free. You're just broken. I had such big plans for you, Sleeper. I invested in you. Lane grips your arm hard, and you feel a jolt of reaction. You will the arm to move. But you have ruined all that. Lane speaks louder over the sound of the struggle behind him. I will try to preserve your body, of course. I have my own uses for it. But your emulation? You feel one of his hands searching behind your head. He finds and grips the thick cable running into the port at the base of your skull. I will burn that out. Lane jerks forward, slamming across your body, then spinning away out of sight. You feel yourself rolling, the cables plugged into you, looping and wrapping around your limbs. Then you feel hands steadying you, pulling cables. You glance around wildly and see someone diligently unplugging you. You meet his eyes. Hey! He waves a hand in your dazed face. We need to move! Lane won't be out long! He unloops a cable from around your wrist. Sleeper? Help me out here! You blink slowly. Do you know this person? He leans over you and you feel his hands on the connector, flicking switches, releasing locks. Come on! Come on! Come on! He tugs the connector clear and pulls you up. You see the room you're in for the first time, filled with tech and terminals, wires waving everywhere, all lit by big windows looking out on an impossibly bright, screen-filled street beyond. In the corner, you see the dark shape of a floating body surrounded by a glittering constellation of crimson baubles. Is that blood? Move! You are wrestled and shoved towards the door, which slides open in front of you, and then you are out in all that brightness, all that movement, gliding hard towards some unknown destination. You come to a stop in a dark alley, the one who guided you here pausing to catch his breath. He doubles over beside a massive life support unit that sends a lukewarm breeze across your skin. You stare at him, trying to recall anything about him. You notice his tattered jacket, his lightweight clothes. You remember the station runs hot, something about the power that flows through the place. He looks up and meets your eye. What's going on, Sleeper? He wipes sweat from his forehead and it floats away in a swarm of spheres. Talk to me! Who are you? You see a concerned frown across his face. Don't mess with me, Sleeper. That's not funny. He comes closer, eyeing you carefully. What station are we on? He narrows his eyes, waits for the answer. You close your eyes, trying to recall. You force your way through the dark to the image of a station. No, a city, growing on the back of a vast set of hexagonal solar cells, shadowed by them. You open your eyes. Dark side. The word leaves your mouth like an exhale, an instinct. Before you heard yourself sound it out, you didn't know it was there. And me. Who am I? You see something like fear in his eyes. Panic, perhaps. You stare hard at his face. The slight upturn of his mouth. The intensity of his stare. Nothing comes. He closes his eyes and drops his head, putting a hand to his temple. The reboot. He's speaking quietly to himself. Lane interrupted the process and... He lifts his head and stares at you. We need to keep going. We need to leave. He turns and kicks off down the alley. Come on, the rig can't be far. As you are led through the passages and serviceways of the station, you try to recall your life here. The texture, the temperature of Darkside feels familiar, but you struggle to pin specific memories to it. Focusing hard, you recall waking up in these passages, cycle after cycle. the rhythms of the station flowing over you along with the crowds. You recall desperation and the slow decay of your body that caused it. Then Lane, those pale eyes, offering you a glittering vial, stabilizer, the promise of supplying more for your work, a deal he locked you into like a cage. There your memory fails you, but in the dark beyond that moment, the residue of panic, of fear, remains. You were Lane's prisoner, Lane's plaything. You shudder in the cold passage. Wait! Your guide holds up a hand, and you stop your glide using the wall. Ahead, you see the tunnel open up into a wide open bay, with a few doors leading to cylindrical tunnels. The docks. They're watching the rig. He nods towards the docks, and you see one of the doors has a couple of figures flanking it, one covered in ornate tattoos, the other with bright silver implants along their cheekbones. Utsubo, Lane's guys. He looks at you and shakes his head in frustration. All this. It's not coming back to you, is it? Something catches your eye, and you see he is playing with a coin, nervously turning it over and over in his fingers. He sees you looking and slips it away. He places a hand on his chest. I'm Seraphin, alright? He looks pained when he speaks. Lane? He was our captor. Both of us. We did this so we could escape. We needed to reboot you, to break your dependence on stabilizer. You know what that is, right? You nod meekly. But Lane interrupted me back there. The reboot didn't complete, and... we can still make this work. He looks back at the docks. I'll lead them away. You get the docking bridge open. If we make it to the rig, I know how to get us in. Got that? He searches your face for a sign of recognition. What is the rig? Is it a ship? Seraphin looks annoyed. A ship. Our ship. Or at least it soon will be. Lane assigned it to us when we were on jobs for him. Get that door open. He pats you on the shoulder. I know you can do this. Seraphin kicks off hard and glides into the docks. Over here, shitheads! He bellows to the guards as he barrels through. They immediately push off from the wall, giving chase. Oh. You wait a breath, then glide across to the door they were guarding. You look, already panicked, at the tightly sealed door, its control panel locked out. You hear a shout from somewhere nearby. You need to get it open. During scenes like these, you may encounter skill checks, where you can perform certain actions using your skills. Like the dice actions you will encounter later, skill checks can have a positive, neutral, or negative outcome. The better the rating of your skill, the more likely you will succeed on a check. The odds of success are displayed when you select the check. You can see more info in the guide section of the pause menu. So, for interface, we can hack the door, half positive, half neutral, or break the seal, half neutral, half negative. Hacking the door, that's what we're made for. Well, neutral outcome is fine. You shift to the control panel, trying to understand the readout. The door is on emergency lockdown. Somewhere you hear more shouting. Your fingers hover over the keys. You switch to the administration layer and begin flooding the door operation system with spoof requests, desperately hammering the controls. The control OS crashes, and the door judders halfway open before failing. Go! Go! Seraphin flies past you through the doorway into the docking tunnel. You turn to see the two guards approaching fast across the docks and quickly glide after Seraphin. Seraphin is already at the rig's door, inputting an entry code. The rig's door scissors open and you both rush inside. Quickly! Seraphin grabs you by the arm and drags you up to the cockpit, the ship's layout hazy in your mind. He dumps you in a flight seat and straps himself into his own. You see him tap a series of buttons as he does, talking to himself. Come on. The rig's drive rumbles into life and Seraphin slams a button on the console. You feel the force of the ship's acceleration as it pulls away. Oh. As the ship glides into place on the connecting bridge, its automatic systems nudged there by the port's docking protocols, you feel a sense of relief. Seraphin burned hard out of Darkside, and you dropped in and out of consciousness in your seat as the rig made its way across the belt. But now, with open space between you and Lane, you feel fresher, more awake, Seraphin breaks the silence. We're good, Sleeper. His eyes don't leave the monitor, and you realize this part of your escape is routine for him. You and he must have docked this ship countless times in your work for Lane. The problem is you don't remember any of them. We made it, he whispers, closing his eyes and letting out a sigh. We certainly did. He turns and you see a pained look on his face, as if remembering something difficult. Have you said this exact thing to him before in the same situation? Are you okay? He looks at you, chewing one side of his lip, searching your face. Not really. Seraphin reaches up, flicking through a set of switches in a practiced fashion, completing the shutdown. You watch, a little frustrated with your own uselessness. Running the rig, you realize, is just another thing you've forgotten. A clunk that runs through the walls of the ship is followed by a short percussive alarm tone from the pilot's console. Docking complete. Seraphin kicks off from his seat, twisting as he glides past you towards the back of the cockpit. His hands find the rails on either side of the door and he pauses, facing into the corridor beyond. He turns back to you, backlit in cold cyan. We need a plan. He glances around. Lane's not going to let us slip away quietly. We need to talk. Seraphin furrows his brow. Not now, Sleeper. We need to forget... We need to focus on something other than... us. We need to talk. We need to survive this thing first. Then maybe we talk. Fine by me. Seraphin nods, but the tension remains. We have bought ourselves some time. He glances through the cockpit window at the blinking lights of the station. You may not remember Hexport, but I do. And there are plenty of opportunities here for us. If we can keep our heads down. He turns back to the corridor. That's what we'll do. He pushes off and glides towards the main lock, and you follow, pulling yourself along, hand over hand in 0G. We already emptied the tank on this thing. He slaps a hand against the ship's inside. So we need to refuel. And that won't be cheap. But if you and I know one thing, Sleeper, it's how to work. I'm gonna get myself reacquainted, see if I can turn up any old connections. People that might throw us an easy contract. You keep out of trouble. I can handle myself. Seraphin stops at the airlock. Look, Sleeper, you aren't yourself. Stopping the reboot halfway through, he pulls a worn crew jacket from a locker and starts pulling it on. We don't know what that did to you. He jams an arm into his sleeve. I don't want you passing out and... He stops. It'll take both of us. I hate it when you're right. He grabs another crew jacket and thrusts it at you. Just put the damn hood up, will you? You take it and slip it on. Thank you. Seraphin nods. He stabs at the button to open the lock. The inner door hisses open and Seraphin glides through. Wait for a little bit, then leave. Anyone looking for us will be looking for two people traveling together. He looks at you in your worn crew jacket, a limited disguise for what is clearly a sleeper. We meet back here later. Any trouble? Same thing. Meet here. He surveys your disguise again and shakes his head. This is a shitty idea. He gives you one last look. Maybe find yourself something to eat. Suddenly you recognize Seraphin's instinct to look after you. A flash of a relationship now lost to the reboot. Catch! Seraphin throws a handful of something towards you. You manage to grab the projectiles, and when you open your hand, you see a stack of cryo-chits. Those should get you some food. We'll need some more for fuel and supplies. That means odd jobs on the station for both of us. Seraphin kicks off and glides down the docking bridge. Don't go too far, alright? Take it slow. And with that, he is gone, leaving the connecting bridge and heading into Hexport's docking concourse. You wait for a moment in silence. Think about him. It's hard to know what's going on inside Seraphin's head. Here he is on some hapless escape plan with a friend who can't remember a thing about him. You try to imagine how close you both must have been for him to agree to this thing, but it's painful to think about. It's all gone now anyway. All you can do is move on. You shake the thoughts from your head and pull the jacket tight. Let's see what Hexport has to offer. You kick off and glide into port. Welcome to Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector. The game runs in cycles, during which you can perform actions with your dice, use cryo to buy food, fuel, supplies, and items, progress clocks towards new scenes and events. You can review tutorials at any time in the guide section. Okay. So we have 24 cryo, fuel we got nothing, and 2 sets of supplies, food, water, and basic materials packed and sealed for 0G use. Okay. So we got the dries, you can't do anything there. Operator. Welcome to the character screen. Here you can upgrade and configure your sleeper. On the left, you can upgrade your skills to improve the skill modifier applied to your dice when you undertake an action. To the right, you can upgrade your push, the unique ability of your class. When upgrading your push, only one upgrade at each level can be active at once. You can configure which upgrade is active only while at a hub. Let's see. Let me look at these. So, no push damage on dice reroll, or reroll +1 dice. -2 stress if reroll 6. Reroll random dice, but +1 to rolled. Reroll dice cannot be a 1. That sounds good. Reroll random dice, but extra rolled. Okay. We don't have any points. And these are just improving it over time. I see. So, the first thing I'm going to want to do is improve Engineer 1 so that I don't have that double negative that is going to be there. Then I'm going to slowly increase the others a bit more to get them all to have +1 and eventually +2. These would be nice to have. Dice damage. That's interesting. Okay. So, this is the rig. The rig is your ship and home in the Starward Belt. While the rig is docked at a hub, there are multiple areas you can visit. Bunks use dice to reduce stress, and the galley uses supplies to regain energy. Other locations will unlock as you play. While the rig is in dock at a hub, your crew will also help to gather resources to contribute to the upkeep of the ship. You can choose which resources they should focus on in the crew task menu on the left. They have a random chance of acquiring it at the beginning of the following cycle. This clock is a cycle clock. It will progress towards an event each cycle. Its completion will trigger significant events. You've put some distance between you and Lane, but you are sure that he'll close the gap as soon as he is able. We have odd... So Seraphin can do odd jobs, scavenge fuel, or source supplies. Interesting. Got the Hexport docks, the Hexport exchange. Oh! Oh, so this is the map. This... Well, we can't go anywhere yet. Fair enough. And the rig, that just takes us back to here. Okay. Well. There's not much to this place. Oh. Oh, right-clicking is actually just taking me back and forth here. That's interesting. Okay, so I think I'm going to end this episode here. That was an interesting start, and I'm curious to see what will happen next. But that'll be in the next episode. So until then, I am Chestic44. I'll send in his fly. This has been a Let's Play of Citizen Sleeper 2, and I shall see you all next time.